Hi, I'm Mike Zyda, and today's presentation is on a trip I took to China in June and July of 2016. So let me share the slides with you. Sound is shared, optimized for video, we're good. And let's make this full screen. All right. So here we are. I'm recording this on the 12th of December, 2024. This is almost 9 years ago. I went to China. I took a lot of great pictures and had a wonderful time there. And the goal was to visit a number of places with a group from a company called Applied Minds, where we were proposing to build theme park experiences in and around historic museums. So that's kind of the purpose of this trip. And you'll see that we start out in probably one of the most interesting places here, which is the Xi'an Lintong Terracotta and Lacquer Furniture Art Factory. So this is a place that makes modern terracotta warriors for sale, full life-size terracotta warriors. That's kind of cool. It says, "We warmly welcome the friends from all over the world." And you can see the name of the place right there. And looks like they have a picture of a golf course in the back, which I think is really strange. And this picture I saw, and it's not very visible to read, it says, "The place to produce and sell terracotta warriors." I'm going to skip ahead on that, and I'll explain that. If you're on the highway as you're coming to Lintong to go visit the Terracotta Warriors Museum, the exit actually is listed as Terracotta Warriors, as if they're worried about something. And anyway, we're at the factory that makes these in Xi'an, and this is what they look like. In fact, I think you can get them in antiqued sheen, you can get them dark, and then you can get them some other color I don't even remember at this point of time. And they leave this one there so that you can put your own head inside and take a picture. But you can also buy, instead of the general or one of the other, the archer or one of the traditional terracotta warriors heads, you can actually have them digitize your head in 3D and put it on top of the sculpture that you purchase and ship home to America or wherever you are from. There's a kiln for firing because they actually make these things there. All right. So I don't know. They have a bunch of different looking guys you can buy. That's right. You can get the black guy, you can get the antiqued guy, and I forget the other color. Maybe it's just two colors. And you can see me once again there with Kira. All right. So you can also see that when they make these and bake them in the kiln, they come out looking kind of like the traditional color you would get something out of a kiln if you were buying pottery in America. And then you can have them change the color in the process of making them. This is the general on the right. He's probably the most famous terracotta warrior. And here's all the different warriors, without their heads, because you get to make the heads in a separate place, and you can also, again, get your own head made. So I'll just show you. This is kind of cool when you go to, if you've been to the Terracotta Warriors and then go here, it's pretty cool. But this particular time, this group was going here first, and they had never seen the Terracotta Warriors before, except for me. I had been there already 2 times. So here we are, again, the general. And you can get the horse. You can get this guy next to the horse. And you can see in the back of this picture on the left, a lot of the terracotta warriors standing up. And they're life size, which means they're about 5'6" or something tall. This place also manufactures antique looking lacquerware, and they do it all by hand. And these are actually the people making it in the same room where you can purchase a warrior. You can buy small warriors. I mean, most of us don't want to have a 500-pound warrior in our front yard or in our office. I kind of wanted to get one, but you can get a small one. So if you look behind me, over by the television, there is a little guy there. He is what? I think he is like 20 inches tall or something like that. All right. This is looking down on top of these guys. They look kind of cool. They're cool. Ah, here you go. So you can get the non-colored one. You can get the gold one. You can get the reddish one. I think there's quite a few different colors I thought there were just three, but maybe there's more. And a life-size general. It's renminbi 13,800, which I think is about $1,300 US at the time. And it tells you it's 230 kilograms in weight and 197 centimeters tall. So you have to plan, and this is freight and insurance included by sea. So they will put it in a box, they'll wrap it in bubble wrap, and ship it to you by sea, which may take a month or two to arrive at your place. And hopefully it is all in good stead when it arrives. And one of the things I thought was funny is they have this sign here, you can't buy this guy because he's already sold. And, you just wonder, is that really already sold, or is that just to get you to think about buying one? I think you can see here, you can see additional signs, life-size officer, life-size general. And that's, again, if you've ever seen the Terracotta Warriors, it's kind of cool. There's a whole bunch of them kind of lined up. They don't want you to go touch and walk and mess with these, but they have a ton of them. You can buy this horse. Should you want one of those horses from the Warriors Museum, you can buy behind the horse on the left is the little funerary procession of a couple of horses and the Emperor Qin Shi Huang, perhaps taking himself to his grave. You start. So basically, we're starting out in the most extravagant tourist shop ever before we go to the Warriors Museum. This is life-size horse you can get. All right. So you can kind of see there's a whole room full of these guys that have already been baked. All right. So we went from there to the Terracotta Warriors Museum, 18th of June, 2016. And Terracotta Warriors is built by Emperor Qin Shi Huang. And he had this terracotta army built. It's depicting the armies of his armies. And Emperor Qin Shi Huang is the first emperor of China. And he's the one who unified the five warring tribes of China into one country. So he's fairly important for the history of China. And this is a giant hangar where they've actually dug out the terracotta warriors and put them back together by gluing them back together because most of them were broken in underground. So if you look at that picture on the sort of in the middle ground, you can see there's a whole bunch of warriors still broken and still their pieces are on the ground. And these are the ones that have been assembled or put together. The warriors all have a different face. They are all, they believe they have 8,000 warriors. And I think this time they had built reconstructed 2,000 of the warriors. And what this is, it's this form of funerary art buried with the emperor in the year 2010, 2009 BCE. BCE is basic is before Common Era, which is basically the same thing as BC. Probably you would be familiar with if you were in the United States, which is always before Christ. And these were built with the purpose of protecting the emperor in his afterlife. You have the address there. So I gave you a number of these pictures. It's kind of cool. You can see what they have. And the warriors are placed back where they found the broken warriors. And they are in a particular military formation that is important for the Chinese army back in the day, as they say. Here's Bran and Clint taking pictures of the warriors. And here's just a number of pictures of the same place. Oh, here's me. You're always going to get a picture of me in the warriors. Okay, and here's from the side, just to show you. This place is massive. When you go there, if you are a professor, there's nothing that you could think about but Indiana Jones because, he was an archaeology professor, and he would love to find a place like this. You can kind of take pictures of where warriors are still kind of broken and had to be dug out. And this one I liked from the side because you can see there's in the middle guy, and this is picture, sorry, it's blurry, is you can see holes. They haven't found the piece for those holes. They've glued him back together mostly, but pieces are still missing. All right. And this is a special dugout place where they've found additional warriors. They've left some with their heads off because they just don't have the heads. They don't know what head belongs. And you can see this. In fact, the number 37, that there is a audio tour that you can take as you go around the Warriors Museum, and it will say, this is, at Area 37, this is what this is. So you can see horses, you can see more warriors. I just have a lot of these because this is just the place you got to take pictures. Okay, when we're away from the pits and in this guy is inside of a glass case and you can get really up close to him. You can't touch him because he's in a glass case. And I think he's an archer, if I recall correctly. It's very cool. Now, one thing that you should note is that when these warriors were originally built, they were all brightly painted. And what happened when the farmer who found the warriors, when he dug out the first ones, it was fully bright and colorful. And after exposure to the air from about almost 2,000 years, the colors disappeared from the interaction with the air. So they're mostly people are familiar with the warriors in this kind of color or that kind of color, where it hasn't been touched up or anything. So the ones in the glass cases are probably the absolute best sculptures that they found and put together. They have to be in pretty good shape because you don't see the cracks that have been glued together like you do when you look at the whole set of them. Here we go. I think this is Kung Fu Guy. And here again, this is a picture of one of the pits where it's all the warriors are still knocked down. All the pieces and broken parts are right there. And they put numbers on them all to try and remember that if you take a piece, it's got a number and you've got to get it back to its spot because eventually the plan is to rebuild all 8,000 warriors. This is my understanding. You can see again, these are all labeled with a number, and I don't think this is, a sticky note. This is something that's probably glued on in some way, much more strongly. As you're going through the museum, this one is out in the open, except for the warrior who's driving. The horses are, behind ropes that you can't touch. But these, again, were part of the funerary procession, which is this guy is driving the emperor to his grave. And the emperor, it would be inside of this, this little wagon attached to the back of the horses. So I took some close-ups. This is a picture of a picture. This is pit number 3, where you can see very close up what the warriors look like when they first dig them out. And they even left paving stones underneath and dug it out. So these are kind of cool if you can get close enough to take pictures. And of course, we had Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and their daughter all visit at some point in time, and that picture is hung proudly in this museum. So we went and did a very quick tour of the Terracotta Warriors Museum. There's a lot more to see there. And with this group from Applied Minds, we just went and looked at sort of the high notes of that museum. And we went on our way to dinner to this restaurant in Lintong called the Qing Restaurant of Real Love. Which, I don't know. It's kind of a very strange name. This is a tourist restaurant, I think, because when you go there, you have to dress up. They give you old Chinese costumes that you put on. Well, reproductions, I'm sure, because we're going to eat dinner in these costumes. And we had a lot of fun dressing up in various costumes. And when you sit down, you have a giant round table and the food is brought. It's very classic, traditional, fresh Chinese food. And the people who bring the food to you come dressed up and do speeches and songs. And this is a fun place. It's a touristy place, but it's kind of like what are some of those medieval knights places where you could go. This is like China's version of that. So I thought this was a great time.
常在宫中设宴招待，望见未敢秦王后门。
I don't know what he's saying. So we ate dinner and then we went out to an event at night very nearby. I think it was, we could actually walk there. And what this was is a production, a live production with a light show and music and fighting, sword fighting, and everything that was around a body of water that we got to watch with fireworks at the end. Okay, and fireworks during the show. This is just a wonderful, fantastic thing that we got to see, and it's a great joy. I didn't think to take any video of this, unfortunately. I just took a couple of stills and paid attention to the show because it was really fun. All right. Okay, next day, 19th of June, 2016, we're going to Jiaojin, which is the Red Army base. Here you are. What this is the Red Army base is the location where Xi Jinping's father was at the end of the Long March. The Long March is the Chinese way of saying it, and the Long March is actually a big retreat. And the retreat is from the other side that was trying to fight off the Chinese communists. And they retreated to this area and hid in caves in the mountains. So this whole area is kind of sacred in terms of history of China. So this is like barracks, and people can come and stay here, probably military and maybe even tourists. I don't know if you could stay as tourists. We did not stay here. We just looked around. We did eat here. And again, some absolutely beautiful fresh food. I took pictures of the food just to show you this is what people eat in China. When you go to a Chinese restaurant in California, unless it's a very high tone restaurant, you don't get food like this. You get Cantonese food for the most part in America. In China, it's fresh and it's with respect to the region. And this is Shaanxi province, Lintong district on top of that. And there's always a round table. I think the biggest round table I ever saw was 40 people in Shanghai. I'll talk about that in a future presentation. Here we got to meet the chef who's cooking for us. We have Da Ming on the left, and we have Brand's wife on the far right, and me, of course. And we went through the kitchen just to see what does the kitchen look like with the Applied Minds crew. And it's clean, it's modern. China is a very awesome place. If you go inside of the rooms at the Red Army base, you'll see that they give you a variety of things to eat, some fruit, some vegetables, and these towels all wrapped up. And inside you'll get these fire escape hoods and anything. So this is what this hotel at the Red Army base looks like. They have this train that you take to go around the city. It's like a tram. It's kind of cute. And I took a picture from far away as we were going around. And we go to this museum, and this museum is to the fighters of the Long March. And you can see them. I think Chairman Mao is supposedly in this picture, as well as Xi Jinping's father, who I don't remember his name, but it's all engraved. And you look at this, it's quite historic, and the Chinese are quite proud of their history of this event. So they built a great museum. Now, this is it's a print of a very famous painting of this mountain. And this mountain is where the caves are, where Xi Jinping's father hid at the end of the Long March. And this painting, the original painting, has been taken away by the other side fighting the CCP to Taiwan. So that's where the modern painting is today. And this is to remind people that we want this painting back at some point. So you can see it's a painting of this hill, which is where the caves were, where this Chinese communist soldiers hid. And you'll see places like this, which they'll say is a hospital from this long time ago period. And it's quite beautiful. But we were there in the summer. This is hot and humid, about 105 degrees. And you don't want to be here most of the summer unless there's something to make it cooler for you. And we had to walk some distance through this place to go look around. And this is the Red Army camp. I'll try to say it. This is Xie. The Red Army camp is named after Shui Gong, who was stationed troops here in the Tang Dynasty. It is 1,600 meters above sea level, which is famously grand. There are 4 natural caves through the mountain. The bigger one can accommodate hundreds of people, and the smaller one can accommodate dozens of people. The unique geographical advantages made this place to be a remarkable guerrilla warfare battleground. In the fall of 1932, Shandong guerrillas and Shandong Beyond Special Committee were stationed here successively. They built fortifications such as drawbridges and a checkpoint, and built the number 1 through 4 Red Army camps by using the 4 natural caves. Number 1 Red Army camp is the station of Shandong guerrillas, number 1 and number 3. Number 2 Red Army camp is the place of the hospital and bedding and clothing workshops. The Red Army's hospital had 9 surgeons, several nursing staffs, and more than 20 sick beds. The bedding and clothing workshops is one of the 3 earliest workshops by our party and our army. Number 3, Red Army camp is an ordnance factory. The major function here is made and repaired weapons such as firearms, bullet, grenade, and explosives. And number 4, Red Army camp is the most dangerous in the 4 places, whereas the Shandong Beyond Special Committee Station and Warehouse here also is the head of Red Area, which is the political center of Jiaojing Revolutionary Base Area. So you can see quite political signs here, and it's in Chinese on the right, and I didn't take a picture of that, but just to I'll read the English to you to know about this. I just read this too. All right, so we spent a lot of time there trying to figure out what would this look like as a theme in terms of theme parks. We then went to the Daxiang Temple in Tongchuan, Shaanxi, and this is the earliest Buddhist holy place in China. This Daxiang Temple is very beautiful and up a mountain. It's kind of cool. So I'll just show you some of the pictures, and you can see there can be very long lines of people to get here. And today we have this place pretty much to ourselves. So it's quite beautiful. And I don't know what year it was built, but it looks quite refreshed and really nice. So a lot of gold, a lot of red, a lot of traditional China in these architectures. It's against the mountain. So it's built in a cliff that's been built up underneath this mountain. And across the way is the Daxiang Sha Mountain Temple. It's a different place, and it was a really smoky day, so we couldn't get a great picture of it, but it's built on top of this mountain, which again is the reason you do that is for fortification against attack. Took some of these pictures of these carvings that are inside of these temples. They're very cool. And this one is kind of like it looks like a well to me, but what you do is you put candles on the nails that are inside of this and light them in honor of the dead. Again, this is an absolutely beautiful place. And I thought this guy was cool. This looks like a flying bear. And you get to see this wonderful sign, which is falling rocks ahead, or maybe it should say falling rocks on your head. And, it's very cool. It could be meteors coming out of the sky, hitting you. I don't know. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And there are some modern sculptures here as well. And this one is maybe historic. You can see it's kind of broken across the face. A lot of old sculptures in China will be broken because, some earthquake knocked them over, or some war, they got thrown to the ground. And a lot of the museums I went to in China had broken sculpture heads. When you're in the Red Army base, they've got this train that you get on and drive around. They've got this, it looks like a tank, but it's probably more of a troop carrier as opposed to a tank. It doesn't have the big turret of a tank. And here is this museum for Xi Jinping's father, and it's basically to commemorate the Shangan Revolutionary Army. All right, which is the foothold of the Red Army at the end of the Long March. So you go inside and you can just see it's all very military worshipful, historic worshipful, lots of political paintings showing the fighting of the two sides. And there's a whole lot of them, but the lighting on all these paintings is very not is very bright, and there will be a big white beam. So it's very. I have a lot more pictures, but they all have a reflection of a light, which makes them not too great. But you can see how cool these are. And you can understand the Chinese consider the Long March a very big part of their history in the formation of modern China. So this, again, more beautiful statuary. When we left Jiaojing, we went to the next day to the Yipang Gong, which was supposed to be the largest palace in the world. And Yipang Palace was a Chinese palace complex built during the reign of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, again, the first emperor of China and founder of the short-lived Qing dynasty. It's located in western Xi'an in Shaanxi province, and archaeologists believe that only the front hall was completed before the capital was sacked in 206 BCE. And there is actually a link to a video that is here, and that you can actually go and watch the history of that museum, of that palace. And there's a platform here that you can go up and look at the location where the palace front used to be and where the whole palace was supposed to be built. So if you go up on top, you're looking down basically at a forest surrounding a garden. And there is no modern Yipang Palace or any pieces of it other than here's the grounds of where it was at one time. So one of the projects that we were looking at was to build a recreation of the Yipang Palace on this site in terms of an entertainment, a theme park-like experience. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that towards the end of the talk. And we had this great dinner here, again, our big round table with just an enormous number of people with us. And we went back to our hotel. The Westin Xi'an Hotel is where we stayed. And of course, here's the swimming pool for the Western Xi'an Hotel. It's in the basement. And in fact, this is a nice picture because you can see everything. When you go down there, it's dark. It's like swimming in a dark cave, which means almost no one uses it, which is wonderful because I swam in this every day in the morning. And this is what the rooms look like. I just thought you might want to look. And if you've got your laptop, this is what it looks like. And your bath and all the rest of it. You know, a lot of Chinese hotels, you have to read those signs on the mirror in the bathroom because often it will say something like non-potable water or do not drink the water. But this hotel, I think, has got fine water because it's a Western American chain. They have to have a good water. We then went to Dean Tingyun Ma's winery and vineyard in Xi'an. It's in Lintong, actually. And here's his big storage at the time of wine barrels. And here's the winery where the wine is, I guess, distilled and turned into this wonderful alcohol. I've had 5 of the different kinds of wines that he makes at this winery, and they are all really good. They're just as good as Napa Valley, is my belief. So it's a big space. It's very cool. I remember when he was thinking about building this, and then 2 years later, it's built. It's like pretty amazing. So again, Tingyun Ma, he's former Dean of Architecture at USC, and he's one of the architects of the CCTV building in Beijing, which if you would know if you'd seen a previous video of mine on YouTube. We just kind of hung out outside. Again, remember, this is summer. It's probably about 100 degrees. We're all hot and tired. This is the resort that Ma has built. It looks like where a villain in a Dr. No James Bond movie would hide out. It's basically you don't get to go in unless you bust through these big wooden doors. And inside, it's just absolutely gorgeous. This is a beautifully architected space, and I really enjoy being inside here. And you can see the greenery and the vineyards from inside of this facility. If you're in the very middle, these are the rooms where you stay. These are places to stay, and there's also a really nice place where you can eat and uh, share wine with the dean if you're there. If you're there, this is the down below. There's some Ming Dynasty era things here in the room to decorate the room. And you'll notice that if you sit down there, you have 5 wine glasses because you're going to sit down and try 5 different wines that were made at this winery. And you can see the food we get. We get dumplings with eyes, which is kind of cool, and all kinds of really cool stuff. We see Michael Quinn, we see Brad Friend, we see Wang Jen there. I'm taking the picture, of course. Just the food is just absolutely fantastic. If you have not had Chinese food like this, you need to come to China to check it out because it's quite wonderful food. And again, there's always multiple courses, there's multiple wines, and we have even dessert. I went outside that night and took a picture back of what the door of the resort looks like when it's lit up at night because it's dark out there. This resort is in the middle of a vineyard, and there's some other buildings right nearby, and there's no street lights or anything. It's quite dark. It's very cool. It's got some traditional Chinese sculpture inside. And here's a picture of our team. We're in the middle of it, and it was really fun at this trip. And you can run around. Okay, we're back at the Western Xi'an on 21st of June. This, I think, is breakfast. This is what breakfast would look like. Some dumplings and like chicken soup broth. If you walk around the Western Xi'an lobby, you can see all these kind of cool things. You can see people playing, playing this instrument. All right. We went to the Bell Tower Square in Xi'an, which I think if you look around, there's just a lot of shops, even a Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's a lot of tourist things you can buy here, and you're on your way to the Muslim Quarter, which is right down off to the left here. This is a fun place. And we happen to be passing by a wedding photography session in the middle of this shopping area. This couple is out there getting pictures taken with all of the folks around them, even Brand taking picture here. Why not? And people walking by talking about good luck with the marriage. And this is the bell tower, which is very cool. And we're going there at Bell Tower Square to go to this restaurant, De Fa Chang restaurant, which is the most revered dumpling restaurant in Xi'an. And so this is where we're headed. And you can see all the different dumplings types in the next couple of pictures. It's going to be totally cool. They're just all quite different and wonderful and fresh. And if you can use chopsticks to eat dumplings, then this is the place for you. And some other things. I forget what this is. This is like probably something fried root of some sort. I took up close-ups because I thought these were cool. They make these by hand. So there's a person who puts the ingredients inside and folds it up and turns the top into a flour licking thing. And it's like cool. People pay a lot of attention. So when you eat this, you have to eat slowly. There's chili sauce you can dip it in if you wish. There's beans with uh thing with I think it looks like bacon, but I don't know what it is in there. Um, this is it's a very nice set of meat as well that you can have. And again, all kinds of different dumplings. I took pictures of them all. And these ones, they're bright red, which is cool. And these ones are green and they look like frogs. So these are frog dumplings, and inside might be frog meat, but I don't really know. It could be chicken, could be anything. But it was cool. In fact, there were a whole lot more of them in the pan when he started, and I wasn't thinking of taking a picture because they were disappearing so quickly. Here's some more dumplings. I mean, this is like again a dumpling restaurant. It's very cool. I love this place. It's wonderful. Oh, black dumplings. Okay, you've got beans and green vegetables. More dumplings. There's some fried ones, which is unusual. Most of them are steamed. And this is going to be a dumpling soup that's like a magical dumpling soup where they're small and they have particular colors, and there's some kind of number thing that you do with these, which tells you how many you're going to get and what your luck is going to be. And so it's kind of cool sitting on top of a fire that's cooking right at your table. And then they have to serve you the dumpling with the soup. All right, after dinner, we went out to walk around the city wall in Xi'an. The city wall is the original wall built around the city of Xi'an when it was really small. And it's quite high. It's massive. And the wall is it's not just 8 inches wide. It's wide enough that you could actually drive a car on it if you could get a car up there. And it's surrounded by buildings that are lit up, like the bell tower has got lights all over it. It's beautiful. You'll see a guy with a really cool telescope there where you can actually go and check out the sky. And as this is walking underneath the wall, there's a giant tunnel underneath. You go inside, and then you can go up top. Now, the city wall in Xi'an has a lot of pubs and restaurants and shops that are embedded in the city wall. And I remember going to one which was a pub on top, and down below in the basement, underneath the city wall, was a place where live music was going on. In fact, it was punk music, if I recall correctly, and people were just dancing like crazy. It was really fun. Again, this is what it looks, and you can see we've come through that tunnel, and we're looking up at the wall, and then we're going to walk up on top. We're now on top of the wall, and as you walk around on top of the wall, you can look outside. Around the wall are all these buildings that are beautifully lit in lights, and they just take great pictures. And this camera I took this trip was on my phone. It wasn't that fantastic. They have a museum to show you what the wall looked like originally. Of course, these walls all have to be fixed and renovated. And they've got little pieces of that were embedded in the wall at some point in time. Very cool. And on the 22nd of June, I walk around the neighborhood around the Western Xi'an. And this is what your internet cables look like in China, in this neighborhood. And Xi'an is a pretty wealthy city. It's where Xi Jinping was born. It's where a lot of the China elite were born. It is where, in the 200 BCE, China was born in the city at that time was called Chang'an. And so it's a very historical place. But I took these pictures of the cabling because it was like, you call up somebody and say, my internet doesn't work. It's like, okay, forget it. We had a presentation that was sponsored by Shaanxi Cultural Group, which was the group that took us on the tour of all of these museums. They're the ones wanting to fund the theme park that we were going to propose. Brian Farron was going to give a lecture, and the title is The Merging of Culture, Inspiration, and Technology. And it was a very well attended talk. And again, very cool. And then next we went to was it Gay on Jean? restaurant. We're always going to restaurants. We're going everywhere because we bring food with us. And it's very cool. All these old things hanging around. And again, our round table where we're going to have a lunch of fresh vegetables and snacks and things like that. And watermelon. Watermelon is huge there. Watermelon drink is huge there with cucumbers. You should have a watermelon drink there in China if you can. And I always take these crazy signs that you see in the bathroom. It goes, do not use toilet paper to go with the flow. And I guess not. So what this means is that you're not supposed to put toilet paper in the slit toilet. There's like a metal trash can there that has a lid that you're supposed to put your used toilet paper inside. Okay. And there may not be any toilet paper in the stall when you go in. You have to get the toilet paper from a giant roll of toilet paper that is by the exit door of the restaurant, of the restroom. And so it's kind of different in that respect. Save water. We went after lunch to this contemporary art museum and saw pictures like this. And we saw, chairs hung up with pictures of famous politicians and other folks, and really cool paintings and sculptures. And I have many, many hundreds of these pictures, and I just put a few in to let you know it's there. We then went to the Daming Palace National Heritage Park, to the Dan Feng Gate Heritage Museum. And there's a lot of, it's a really big space. There's not a lot in it. There's some really interesting large paintings. But what you really get to see in this Daming historical space is some recreated villages that are just absolutely gorgeous. I think they are used in movie shoots. These are life-size, full places where people could do a wonderful film shoot of ancient China. And again, in this museum, you'll see Buddha, you'll see horses are really a big thing. You'll see here's Emperor Qin Shi Huang with some of his people. And then I think that at the end of the trip, we go to visit Dr. Wang Yong, who is the chairman of Shaanxi Cultural Group. And he is the one who basically I convinced him to bring Applied Minds and me over to talk about building a potential theme park in Xi'an, in and around the historic museums. So he is chairman of the board, Shaanxi Cultural Industry Investment Group, Western Movie Group as well. And I think he gave something to Brad. I don't think I ever knew what this was. It looks like an ashtray or some kind of sculpture that is SCG oriented. And we took some pictures. And then we went out to, I think, a final dinner. Again, a round table. Yes, there are round tables in China. And this is a lot of really cool food. And I forget the name. I think this is the name of the restaurant down here. And I think it's Xiao Ba Sha Gong Fu Chao Shan. All right. So the goal of this trip was to capture ideas for potential theme parks in Lintong at various historical venues, something around the Terracotta Warriors Museum, something at the Apang Palace site, something at the Jiaojing Red Army Base. Oh, Red Army Base, I spelled red wrong. I should have fixed that. Both Dean Ma and I were consultants to the Ministry of Culture and the Shaanxi Cultural Group in Xi'an, an entertainment technology advisor for AR, VR, and theme park projects in and around these various interesting historical sites. And I put the project together, bring in Applied Minds because they are really good at concept and engineering design. That whole group of Applied Minds, 40 of them came out of Disney Imagineering at some point, probably in 2000. Gensler for architectural design and project development. I hooked up with the group that built Shanghai Disneyland. And we put together a great concept book for this. Applied Minds did. And SCG only could raise $300 million. And it really, the whole budget that we needed was $1 billion. So this project didn't happen. It just was fun. So Terracotta Warriors, again, same picture I showed you before. We pitched them an idea to build pit number 5, which is like a roller coaster that goes down into the ground where you see The Crypt Catcher. It's an animatronic simulator ride where you get to see the historical terracotta army alive in some way, shape, or form. You see the secret chamber where you get to see very interesting things going on projected on the rock walls underneath. And a Pangong with the palace site, the proposal was to build a crystal version of the palace. Use the original plans to build the front part of this and build it for basically out of crystal with a light show that could be run at day and night like this. At the Red Army base, we wanted to, build something like this. This is a picture that makes the mountain look really perfect. And the idea was to build a mountain water park because it was hot and humid there. And the idea was you can't get many people to spend time there unless there's something they can have fun with. And every night, the evening ends with a spectacular fireworks show, which is sort of a Disney traditional idea. And there's the picture of what the water park would look like at the base of this very famous Long March mountain. And this is what the light show proposal would look like. So acknowledgements, want to acknowledge Dr. Wang Yong, who tried really hard to get this project funded and inviting us and paying our way. Ma Tingyun, who is the former Dean of Architecture at USC and one of my closest friends, Wang Zheng, who works for Ma and helps him keep his winery and vineyard alive. Xie Jun, who is one of my great friends, who is a famous screenwriter in China now, Brad Farron, and his team at Applied Minds, and anyone who took me to these great places in China for this trip. I stayed 2 more weeks, and that's going to be in another presentation. After this, I needed to split it up because what happened is at the end of this trip, at the end of this section, the Applied Minds group went home. I stayed in China 2 more weeks and found my way around all kinds of historical and great places. This is my email if you want to send me any information or questions. And let me stop sharing and get out and say thank you for listening. China is really a great historical place whose great history goes all the way back to 200 BCE. And there's just a lot of historic museums that are wonderful to see there. And I encourage you to go. And the food is great. And maybe learn a little bit of Mandarin before you go. I can say things like, and get my way home from late night parties when my host has disappeared somewhere and I have to find a taxi and get myself back to the hotel. But it's not too hard. Anyway, you have a wonderful day, and I will stop recording and we'll see the next week of this presentation soon.